I want to show you this video because it's going to show you how you just can't debate leftists. No matter how right you are, no matter how many facts you put in front of them, they will just deny the truth because their ideology is stronger than common sense. Their ideology is, to them, is stronger than the truth. When you're a person who you base everything on your emotions, it's very hard to change your opinion because you emotionally feel addicted to that answer, to that way of life. So I just want to show you this video real quick, and it's Congressman Chip Roy is debating Rosa DeLauro, another congresswoman, and when you look at it, you could tell she's one of them lunatic leftists, purple hair, all that stuff. And they're talking about the budget and how the tax revenue under President Trump and how we receive more tax revenue than previously ever recorded when President Trump had everybody working and we were bringing in more money because there was everybody working, so everybody was being taxed. The business, the corporations were being taxed at a higher rate, and we brought in more revenue. And he's trying to say that the reason why we continue to have these deficits grow is because as we bring in more revenue, we continue to spend ridiculously and higher than the amount of revenue we're bringing in. Her argument, of course, is, well, that's not why it's happening. It's happening, not spending has nothing to do with why we need to tax people more. Right there, you can see the difference in ideologies and how they go about governing. She believes taxing people more will bring in more money, but that's absolutely not true because as you tax people more, you tax businesses more, they start to cut people, so less people out of work, so you're not going to get the same amount of revenue. Do you understand what I'm saying? And this is her argument. So if we tax all these people who are working, but they're not going to be working because the corporations are going to get rid of them when they have to pay more taxes. Somebody's got to pay. They're going to cut staff. That's what always was happening. So that's their argument. But I want you to hear for yourself as he tries to explain his side, and she's just talking over him and won't let him get his point across. And then I'm going to show you an actual article on how we did get more revenue back then. Check it out.
In deficit spending this year, $2 trillion.
Well, let me ask you.
$33 trillion in debt.
Well, but the fact of the matter is that you have no, what, and I'm assuming that 2017 tax cuts were something that were embraced, and there was no...
The revenue as a percentage of GDP had never been higher than it was a year ago, other than about the same height in 2019.
Revenue is not. We are
as a percentage of GDP, as effectively 2 years ago, revenue had only been at that level twice before in the history of this country, ever.
Well,
I'm going to pause this and I'm going to show you a tidbit from the article I was talking about. And here goes the article. I'm not just showing it because if the numbers are in, Trump's tax cuts paid off. I don't want a partisan article. I just want to show you the truth. Right here. The government now expects to bring in more tax revenue in the decade following the 2017 Trump tax cuts than it had projected prior to the passage of tax reform. The corporate tax reform propelled higher income growth, therefore higher income taxes and payroll taxes. And that goes back to what I just said. The reform bill caused more people, more corporations to grow, therefore they hired more people and we were able to get more taxation. Very simple, but she sits there and denies it. The Congressional Budget Office's May 22 forecast shows that the government now expects to bring in more tax revenue in the decade following the 2017 Trump tax cuts than it had projected prior to the December 2017 passage of the tax reform. Clear and convincing evidence right there. Now I'm going to scroll down a little bit and show you a few more things. The Biden White House issued a press release claiming the Trump tax cuts had added $2 trillion to deficits over a decade, but the numbers tell a different story. Despite the political rhetoric, tax revenues are up. There you go. They're up, but they're spending more. They just have a problem with spending. These people in Washington, D.C., look what they're doing all over the world. Look what they're doing with Ukraine alone. Just blowing cash. All the BS inflated pork bills. And they just add, as we bring in more money, they add more spending. Common sense, easy math. If you continue to raise the revenue from the taxes and you cut the spending, it starts to cut into that. But she will sit there and deny it. It's very frustrating to sit there and listen to the arguments by the leftists. It's insane. Such common sense, yet to them, common sense isn't common. So now I'm going to go back and let you finish hearing the rest of this debate.
Apparently there is no desire to deal with a balance between revenue and spending.
But also, if we were at the highest level as a percentage of GDP that we've ever been, give or take, a percentage.
I'm going to look at the numbers myself. I just don't take what you say by fiat here. This is that is the absolute.
Well, let me Google that for you. It is.
She works in Congress. This is a congressional spending and tax cut bill. She doesn't even know what she's talking about. She says, well, I'm going to look. Shouldn't you know that already? This is your job. You should be informed. But they don't want to be informed. They rather continue to spew the rhetoric and lies.
Well, thank you.
The case that is a percentage of GDP, again, effectively about a year or two ago.
Well, where were you on the tax cuts in 2017 that was okay to do what we did, which was
But the 2017 tax cuts resulted in the 2017 cuts.
She's sitting there saying it didn't. He did it. I just showed you what happened, and she's just straight lying. Can these people ever get truth right? It's insane listening to them.
Ended up having, as of this time,
Could you have a spirited discussion? Just please, one at a time.
the highest revenue as a percentage of gross domestic product that we've ever had.
This, my friend.
He just showed her. He spoke to her and said it is the highest amount of tax revenue that we ever had in the United States. And yes, she'll still argue. She goes on and continues to argue, saying that only the rich benefited from, which is a total lie. I just showed you documentation from the CBO and all this other stuff. If you want to look this up, look into it. You will see for yourself that what she's saying is completely not true. Chip Roy has the facts behind him, and the bottom line is he's debating the truth. She's debating her feelings. That's it. Anyway, thanks for watching. I wanted you to see the difference of when you get someone who's just a regular conservative, normal human being talking about stuff that is so out there in front of you, such common sense, and then you have these lunatics that are in our government. This is why nothing gets done. This is why we are in the predicament we're doing, because we have a majority of people in the government who are corrupt. They're insane. They're all about the corporations and making their own families rich, and then you have people like her who are just ideologues, and nothing you say can ever convince them of the truth. Anyway, thanks for watching, and it's very frustrating, and we're in a world of trouble. Anyway, thanks for watching. Talk to you soon.